Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to jump right into something huge, one of the cornerstones of Buddhist thought, the Four Noble Truths. And we'll be looking at it through the lens of a really insightful teacher, Ajahn Sumedho.
So, picture this. The Buddha has just had this massive, life-changing enlightenment experience. He's walking down a road and he runs into an ascetic, a spiritual seeker. He decides this is it, time for his very first sermon. And he just comes right out with it. I am the perfectly enlightened one. I mean, that's a pretty bold opening line, right? And you know what? It completely bombed. The guy was not impressed at all. He pretty much just looked at the Buddha and thought, wow, this guy is way too full of himself. Like maybe all that spiritual practice had gone to his head, and then he just turned around and walked away. So yeah, the Buddha's very first sermon was a total flop.
So what do you do after your big debut falls flat? Well, he didn't just dust himself off and try again with the same pitch. No, he did something way smarter. He completely rethought his entire approach. And what he came up with, well, it's a teaching that has stuck around for over 2,500 years for a very good reason.
So check out the difference here. This is the genius of the pivot. His first try was all about him. I am this, and that forces you into a corner, right? You either believe him or you think he's making it up. But the second time, so much smarter. He makes a universal observation. There is suffering. He's not asking you to believe him. He's asking you to look at your own life and see if it rings true. It's an invitation, not a declaration.
And this new teaching is what we now call the Four Noble Truths. A really great way to think about them is like a medical diagnosis for your mind. Seriously, the Buddha's acting like a doctor here, and the first two truths are all about diagnosing the problem.
So the first truth is this simple, profound statement. There is suffering. And the wording here is absolutely key. He doesn't say, I am suffering, which can make it all about poor me and get us stuck in our own story. Instead, he says, there is suffering. It's an objective condition, like saying there is gravity or there is weather. It's just a fact of life.
The ancient Pali word for this is dukkha, and usually translate it as suffering. But that sounds a bit heavy, A much better word is something like unsatisfactoriness. It's that constant, low-grade hum of friction in life. It can be the huge, heartbreaking stuff for sure, but it's also just being stuck in traffic or feeling a little restless. It's this deep recognition that in a world where everything is always changing, nothing can ever permanently satisfy us. Now, this is super cool. Each of these truths isn't just a statement. It's a whole process. It has three parts. First, there's the statement of fact. Hey, dukkha exists. Got it. Second, there's a job to do, a prescription. This dukkha, it needs to be understood. And third, you get the result. Dukkha has been understood. See that? It's a full arc. You see it, you work with it, and then you realize the result of that work.
And what does understanding even mean here? Well, it's not about sitting around and analyzing it intellectually. It's more like standing under it. Imagine you're standing under a waterfall. You're not fighting it, you're just letting it be there. It's about fully accepting that suffering is present, without doing what we normally do, which is either run away from it or get totally swept away by it.
All right, so if the first truth is pointing out the symptom, this feeling of dukkha, the second truth is the diagnosis. It points right to the cause. And what is it? It's our attachment to desire.
This craving has a name, tanha. And it kind of comes in three main flavors. You've got the one we all know, wanting stuff that feels good. Great food, that new phone, a perfect vacation. Then there's the craving to become something, to be smarter, to be happier, to be the person who has it all figured out. And the third one is a little sneakier. It's the craving to get rid of stuff, that feeling of, I just want this anger to go away. That's a craving too. Okay, but here's the absolute game changer in this whole diagnosis. The teaching isn't saying desire is bad. Not at all. Being hungry is normal. Wanting to improve is natural. The problem isn't the desire itself. It's the grasping. It's that white-knuckled clinging to it, where we let the desire define us and run the whole show. All right, let's recap. We have the diagnosis. There's this baseline unsatisfactoriness in life, and it's fueled by our grasping onto desires. So, are we just doomed? Nope. And that's where the third truth comes in. This is the good news. It's the prognosis, and it's a hopeful one. There is a cure. This is the truth of what's called nirodha, which basically just means cessation or ending. And the logic is super simple, right? If suffering has a specific cause, that if we deal with the cause, the suffering can end. It's the possibility of finding real peace by learning how to stop clinging to that frantic cycle of wanting and not wanting. So, how do we do it? The key phrase here is letting go. But this is where a lot of us get it wrong. Letting go isn't this big, aggressive act of throwing something away. Think about it more like gently unclenching your fist. You're not pushing anything out, you're just releasing the tension. You're allowing things to come and go on their own without that tight grip of attachment. And this insight is based on a fundamental law of the universe, something one of the Buddha's first disciples realized in a flash. Whatever has the nature to arise also has the nature to cease. It's that simple. Everything that comes into being will also pass away. So letting go isn't some weird spiritual trick. It's just aligning ourselves with how things actually are. So we've got the diagnosis and we know there's a cure. The final piece of the puzzle, the fourth truth, is the prescription. This is the how-to manual. It's the practical, boots-on-the-ground path for actually making this freedom a reality in our own lives. And this path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. And again, this isn't a list of things you have to believe in. Not at all. It's a set of 8 practices, 8 skills that you develop. And when you work on them together, they can completely transform how you see everything and how you show up in the world. You can break down the whole path into 3 main areas. First up is wisdom. That's about getting your perspective right, seeing things as they really are. Then you have morality, or ethical conduct. This is all about how you act in the world, with your speech, your actions, even how you make a living. And finally, there's concentration, or mental training. This is where you build the focus and stability of your mind. Now, it's super important to remember this is not a step-by-step list where you master number 1 before moving to number 2. Think of it more like a tripod. You need all 3 legs for it to be stable. Your wisdom guides how you act, your ethical actions help calm your mind, and a calm, concentrated mind can see with much greater wisdom. They all grow together, supporting each other. And this brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? The Buddha's second sermon, the one that actually worked, wasn't a demand to believe him. It was an invitation to look for yourself. And that's exactly where this path begins for every single one of us. It's not about accepting some dogma. It's just about turning your gaze inward, with a little less judgment and a lot more curiosity, and simply starting to look.